because a number of people couldn't make it, so they asked if we could record it. And what I'd like to do, first of all, if any of you have specific questions about the gradebook, I'd be happy to address that too. So I'm going to leave a little time at the end. What I'd like to do today is to go over some of the best practices. We'll do that briefly because that's in my, I think I do like a basic gradebook course. And then I'd like to go over some of the more interesting things, some new things too. And then I said, like I said, I'd be happy to do something that you're interested in. Also, Erica right now is putting together a list of times that we're available, either on Zoom or just in the office, where we're all going to be there, so that if folks want to sit down and have someone look at their gradebook, that's what we can specifically do. So I think that's going to be helpful because I look at a lot of courses every day, and I would say half of them have gradebooks that are not so great, because it's really complicated and really hard. Once you get your gradebook set up, it's powerful and it's good, but it's really difficult. And I've still struggled a little bit with it. But anyway, let's do the first things first. This is just a fake course I just imported in. And by the way, yell, scream, interrupt me. That's cool. No problem. This is a course that I think I had this one in the spring or the fall. I think the fall of last year. And I'm going to show you my grade book, and I have a few strongly suggested rules. You don't have to follow these, but it does make it easier. If you look at my grade book, I try to keep it as simple as possible. And my grading is very simple. I have weekly essays, and they are worth 50%, even though I didn't include it here. Where is it? 50. I changed it earlier to see if I could do it. And you'll see now I have weekly essays are 50, I have discussions worth 20, and I have 2 tests, a midterm and a final, each worth 15, and that, of course, equals 100. I strongly suggest that when you're designing a course or redoing it, if you keep your course total to 100, it's so much easier to mimic your syllabus, your course outline, because a lot of ours are done that way, 10% this, 20% that. And also, the big advantage is that 100 points is also the same as 100%. I helped a Vet Sci course once, and the course was so cool. It had so much stuff in it, but it was out of like 742 points. And I didn't know what these numbers meant. Like, how much is this category out of 742 points? It's hard to know. So I recommend always having 100 being your course total, because that way 50 points out of 100 is the same as 50% out of 100. I think keeping it simple is good. The other thing that you have to do for your course to work is we have to use categories. This is, I think, the thing that gets people the most, because once you put things in categories, then everything falls into place. But getting things into categories seems daunting. It really isn't. So, for example, 50% of my class are these essays. Now, by the way, there's 15 here because I, for some reason, have 2 number 4s. I just realized that. And each one, they do 7 of the 15 throughout the term. So I have this thing where I only count the 7 best. But I call the category weekly essays. It's worth this amount. I have final exam and midterm as each a category, even though I probably could put test as a category and just have it worth 30%, but that doesn't really matter. And that way, all the categories, then when I create a new assignment, I plop it into the category right away. And let me show you very quickly. I know most of you know this, but just very quickly, I'm going to show you how to do that. Oh, I hear the screaming girls downstairs, so my apologies.
John, quick question.
Yes.
And I don't know if you're actually going to do this now.
Yeah.
But creating categories.
Yes.
That's the issue.
Yes.
And that's what you're explaining?
Well, I was actually going to get there next, but let me do that first.
Okay.
So right now, the way you create an assignment, I think everyone knows, in the topic you want, you just go to create assignment. You could do or create a quiz or anything like that. And then when you're setting it up, one of the options is what category do you want it to go in? But you have to have the categories first. So the way to create a category is on the bottom here. We do add category. And I'm just going to call one presentation, even though I don't have that. And a lot of this stuff is okay to keep just for the time being. You could always change it later, but we want to get the category in there. I just completely screwed up all of my numbers. I just told you to keep it 100. Now I screwed it up. But maybe I'll lower this to 40 and make this 10 or something like that. So right now, anything I create, I can put in that category. So it's very simple on the bottom here. That's how we do it. Now, I also have this later on in the hour, but let me do it right now because it's completely relevant. Let's say that I just want to have a blank category because I'm going to manually input grades into it. This is not that helpful if you're teaching completely online because just about everything you do has a grade associated with it that naturally goes in to the gradebook. But let's say I have a hybrid course and I have them doing presentations, for example, and I grade them. I have to find a way to get that into the gradebook. Well, I have the category, and once again, we always use categories. If stuff is laying around outside the categories, it doesn't get counted unless we manipulate it. It's the second one here, add grade item. Now I'm just going to call it individual presentation, or whatever I call it. I'm now going to put it, I'll give it 10 points, whatever. I'm now going to have to tell the gradebook where this goes. So right here, it's at the, where is it? Individual presentation. I have to use this weird, like, it looks like two hands cupping fingers or something, and this will tell me where to put it. So I want to put it in the category I just made. I go under in presentation, click it, and now you'll see it's moved. So right now, whatever I put in here will be part of the presentation category, but this is blank. Like I said, there's nothing there. So what I have to do to put grades in there, it's a little awkward, and there's a few ways to do this. I go to the view, and I'm going to find it. It should be all the way, I think, at the end. Individual presentation. What I can do is click just on a box. I'll give this person a 78, an 86, a 99, or, well, 99. Now, that is part of the student's gradebook. I have fake students here that I use. And if we go to their gradebook, we'll see that it's in it. You can also change it. You can go back. You can change, oh my goodness, you can change it again, whatever you want to do. And if you see that it's highlighted here in tan, whenever you see that in the gradebook, it means you edited it. You manually put something in here. You can also manually change a grade that the student had for like an essay that you graded normally. You can override it by doing that. But it'll turn tan, which means you know that it was overridden. Okay, I just got a little ahead of myself, but that's how you do that.
Okay, so none of those grades that you have a physical drop box.
Exactly.
But if you wanted that, you would create a Dropbox, and then you could upload a Word doc that would have all the information, correct?
Yeah, we could do that too, and then it automatically goes in the gradebook. My only chore then would be to put it in the category that I want.
So what if hypothetically you're in your course and you create a Dropbox? That's the other way to add a category? Or
Well,
do you have the category first?
Yeah, the categories have to be done first because when you're making something, and let me just do that really quickly, when you're creating an assignment or anything, a quiz, whatever, I'll just pick assignment. One of the choices, of course, is where you want it, under grade. Where is it? Right here, I then say where it goes. So the category has to be made first. Now, if you didn't make categories, all you have to do really is then go into the gradebook, create all the categories, and then manually move everything into it. It's a bit more labor intensive, but it'll work too. Okay, let me get back to my course. The weighting is, I think, the most confusing thing. And let me go to the gradebook. And Moodle is trying to do something. I think it's going to be mandatory soon. They want everything to be one type of grading. So this category here, weekly essays, notice they're all 100. They're all the same. So when I edit that category, I use simple weighted mean of grades, which that means they all weigh the same. If I want to have some worth more than others, and I change it to weighted mean of grades, watch what happens to the category. Now boxes show up which lets me change what the grades are. But here's the confusing thing. This is still confusing to me. I've caught myself making this mistake. The number 1 here is default. It simply means they're all weighted the same. It doesn't mean 1 point. It doesn't mean 1%. If I change this one to 2.0, all that means is this first essay is now worth double what these all other ones are. I can make some 3.0. I could have these all 37. As long as they're all the same, they all are equal. So these numbers are confusing, but it simply means in relation to the other ones, which again is confusing. I'm going to go back and change it because I want them all to be worth the same. I'm going to go to simple weighted mean of grades. I would say the number 1 question we have about the gradebook is what I just showed you, these confusing terms. Some of them are pretty obvious, but a lot of them I think are confusing. Some schools remove most of these so people don't get confused. But here's what I want to show you. This natural is new. This is what Moodle says will be used in the future in probably 1 or 2 more versions of Moodle. All this other stuff's going to be gone because it's so confusing, and we're going to go to natural. And what that means is this. When it works. Natural means that you can set the weights for everything, but it defaults to simple weighted means. So if I don't touch this, there's 15 assignments. Each is worth 6.66. That's just about 100. The gradebook figured that out for me. Now, the reason I'm bringing up natural, if your gradebook works now, don't worry about it. Don't touch it. If it works, you're in good shape. I have been told that when they move to natural, your gradebook will be converted for you. I will wait and see if that actually happens. It doesn't always happen. But if you're creating a new course or you are significantly redesigning an old course, I would recommend using natural because it'll save you time in the future and possible headaches if the conversion isn't really great. Instead of wasting time showing you how natural works, it's actually simple. Let me just say, if you're creating a new course or you're significantly redoing your course, please contact us. We can go over your gradebook with you and set it up, help you set it up properly so it agrees with your syllabus, and then you'll be set for the future whenever they do the upgrade and they make sure we only use natural. That's my shtick on natural. We'll ignore that. Okay. One question we have, which is better now, let me get back. I'm going to get rid of natural. I'm going to go back to what I was, is how do you put in extra credit? Moodle did a poor job of extra credit for quite a long time. And this latest version that we have seems to have solved it. So now I recommend if people want to use extra credit, they can because it calculates properly. It didn't in the past, and we recommended people don't use it. So here is how you add extra credit. I'm going to pretend that I already went and I created an assignment or whatever it is, or even like I showed you before, having something I manually input. Either one works fine. We'll use essay number 14 here. I'm going to make that extra credit. The most important thing is I don't put it by itself in the gradebook because it won't calculate properly. It can go anywhere as long as it's in a category. If you want to create a category and just have that in it, that's fine. What happens is, I'm going to show you edit settings for this one. This is going to be extra credit. So it removes it from that category's amount. Oop. And right here, where it says extra credit, now it's going to calculate like this. You'll see a little plus with 2 underlines next to it. That means that this is extra credit. 100's crazy. I wouldn't use 100. I changed the points to like 5 or something like that. But it doesn't matter for showing this. What this means is that after every grade is calculated, all of these other grades are calculated, all the categories are calculated, this comes in at the very end. It doesn't add extra credit to this category, although it could, because if let's say it's 5 points, this would then be 55 points or whatever. But at the very end, it adds the number of points that you give the person, up to, 100's crazy, but let's say 5. I've tested it. It actually is reliable and it works. And a number of folks contact us, especially later in the semester, and they say, how do we put in an extra credit? It's become very simple and it works. So if you ever want to do that, that's the way to do it. Oh, by the way, there's a catch though. The students don't see this. They don't see that something's an extra credit. So what they recommend, what Moodle recommends is, oh, I can't do it here. Yeah, I have to do it in the, watch, I'll show you. Moodle recommends you actually type it in there. Like here.
Oh.
I'm going to say like extra credit. And I'll spell it wrong, clearly. Now the students will know. Otherwise, they don't know. And that's a catch because no one will see. Let's go back to the grade book. And we'll see extra credit. Now they'll know. Maybe even put of 5 points or whatever you want to do. So that works pretty well. Another thing, let me make sure I have extra credit, natural. Oh, I should throw this in there too. You'll notice in my course here, because I have administrator settings, I can have fake students. There's me, and then there's students who I have created. If you ever use this up here where it says switch role to, and you can choose a student, that's helpful if you want to look at it and see what it looks like. That's perfect for that. But let's say you want to submit something for a fake student to see how you can grade it and if it works. It's very helpful to actually have a fake person in the class to do that. So here, if you ever need, contact, just put my name on the ticket. Just say, for John, and say, please give me a fake student. And then all you have to do is, in the roster here, you just click on the icon, and it says log in as. Actually, I got to take that back. I can do that. You can't do that. So here's how you do it. I have to send you their login information. I have the password and their username, and then you can get in. So it's an extra step, but I know some of the BSN folks ask me always to put Darth Maul and Han Solo in because they like to see how the students actually interact in the class. You can also use it if you want to submit something in a forum, like you want to have somebody post something, and it's, you know, you want it to be somebody else. Maybe we can even give the person a, see, I don't want to give them a real name because then we won't know they're fake. I figure Darth Maul and Han Solo are pretty fake. But either way, if you need a fake person, just touch base with me and I'll put it in. It'll take 5 minutes. It's easy to do. All right. One other thing I want to show. We often get questions. This is one of the most popular questions. A faculty will say, the students say they can't see their grades. And I'm trying not to be cynical, but this often happens in November or December, and the student hasn't done work and say, I had no idea I was doing poorly. I never knew what my grades are. Let me show you what the student sees, because you don't see this. This is on their screen. I'm going to log in as a student. This is a real class. And by the way, I know FERPA is important, but this is for training purposes. And I chose a student who did really, really well. So I'm assuming no one's going to complain if I show you the student. Let me find her. Where is she? Here we go. This is what the student sees. I'm going to go into the course. This is as if I have logged in. Oh, wait a minute. I just screwed that up. One more time. I have to log in as the student. I missed a step. There we go. I'm going to log in as Abigail. And students see their grades. It was moved. It's kind of hidden here. It's under navigation. It used to be under the administration block, and it was very obvious. For some reason, they moved it. I don't care for this move. But they click on grades, and here is what they see. They see pretty much the entire gradebook set up the way that you just saw it in this class. It has all of their feedback, all of their points. It has everything. It even has the course total. And if we set it up right, and I'll show you this in a second, the course total during the term will also be correct all the time. So if a student says they don't know what their grades were, you can see everything is here, not just the points they get, but how much stuff is worth. So you can politely tell them, just look at the grades under the navigation block. I guess it is possible students don't know this move. So I guess that is possible. But it's very clear what their grades are just by that. And let me log out of being Abigail. By the way, she got 100, so nobody worry that she won't. I hope she's not going to get angry.
So
Okay.
John,
Yes.
here's
Of course.
a marginal question.
Yeah.
Who makes suggestions to Moodle about changes?
We actually can do that. It's interesting. They have on their website, we have put in recommendations. I forget, they have a word for it. It's not called recommendations. It's called like something. I forgot what it's called, but we can do that. Do you have a thought?
Yes. Rather than having students look at navigation, why isn't there just a separate tab that says grades?
Yep, I completely agree. It used to be under the administration tab, and it only was, all students saw was grades.
Yeah, that would make, but even that's an extra click. And, you know, just like you said, you're trying to be as nice as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
If it screams at that grade, then there's no excuse that they can't find it. But hey, I was a student and I took a course in our online program.
Yeah.
I had to figure out, oh, I have to go to administration. Why am I going to administration? I'm not administration. But if it just said grades, it would be easier.
It would be far easier, and I completely agree with you. Another thing they changed is this. Up here, now you have edit settings and turn editing on next to each other. I'm pretty good with Moodle. I constantly screw these two up because they put them on top of each other. Yeah. I think it was a retrograde step. And, you know, you've inspired me. I'm now going to go on that website and tell them to change it because it's annoying. But I agree with you about the grades. Now, I don't think there's a grade block. I'm pretty sure there isn't. Let me see if there is. I'm pretty sure there is not. Because that, if there was, I would put that in everyone's, no, there's no grades. There should be, though. I'm gonna submit that because I totally agree with you. They also have other things. They actually do listen to people. It sometimes takes one or two more versions of Moodle, but we have had success with things like that in the past. Okay. One more thing, and I know a lot of folks know this, but let me show you in the gradebook. The reason I chose this course to show you was because I have 15. This is actually from the one that actually ran. Let me use the other one. Where is it? Here. The gradebook. I have 15 essays here. I keep the best 7. The students know that right from the start. Every week they get an essay. If they want to do it, they can do it. They don't have to do it, but I keep their best 7, which means if they start and do a few poorly, they have time to redo them because I only count the best 7. And the way we do that is here. In this category, I go to edit and edit settings, and you'll see up here, I have the option of keeping the, I have 5. I'm sorry, it was, boy, I think it was supposed to be 7. I think I screwed up. I can put how many I keep. Now, this is a change because in the old one, oops, I got out of there by accident. We used to say drop the lowest, but what we found out was that until you hit that number of 7, it just kept dropping all the ones you didn't do. So students only knew they were doing what they were doing by the end of the class after this number 7 was reached. So Moodle actually listened to us, and now we have defaulted keep the highest. So now right from the start, it'll be calculating their grades. And this is a big thing with Moodle. The students should be able to see their grades all the time, during the term as well. And this is the other way to do it. Keep the highest is one way if you choose it, and here's the big one. Exclude empty grades. We have it defaulted. We just changed it. It's defaulted to being on. So what this means is if it's the midterm time and the student sees their grades, it's not calculating the final as a 0 because they haven't taken it yet. It simply means anything that hasn't been taken is not counted. But this means that faculty have to put zeros in for things that were not done because Moodle thinks they simply weren't done. Unless the time period is over, that something closes. So that's another way to do it. But a lot of faculty don't do that. So this is the key. Yeah.
Is there a way to have the grade automatically, if there's no grade put in, by the end, somehow it automatically defaults to a 0?
The only way I know how to make that the gradebook show you the proper number is by having the assignment close, because then it says it's calculated as a 0, but a 0 doesn't show up. So it's a little awkward.
Yeah, because for a little while, in the very beginning when I first came, I didn't realize, and so if you don't check every grade for every student, then it will just automatically calculate a grade.
Yeah.
And doesn't deduct that, so it actually inflates their grade.
Yeah, if a student doesn't hand something in, their grade can get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Again, the only way I know how to do this is to have the assignment close. But, you know, sometimes people, like in my class, I like to keep assignments open so people can look at what they did, because sometimes I refer back to them. So it is a bit awkward, and I don't know the best way to handle it other than that.
Yeah, and is it when you do the presentations on the initial gradebook kind of stuff, is that mentioned? If not, it might be a good idea to mention that, just because people won't do what I did in the beginning.
I have it in front of me. Let me take a look.
Just a thought.
I actually don't have it on my my little lesson plan here, so I'm going to now add it, because you're right. That screws people up. Thank you.
Students with inflated grades.
I know, then they say, "Why did I fail?"
Oh no, they didn't fail.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. That's a good point. I'm actually, if you don't mind 1 second, I'm going to say make sure to add zeros to empty. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
I'm going to save that, and I will now give people good information next time.
So, John,
Yes.
So if you have people in Voicethread groups,
Yes.
like I have them in 4 groups,
Yeah.
and there's 5 students in each group, and so when I look at the grade book, I can see the 5 that I graded, and then the next 5 are skewed over to, the next 5 names and on down. But that leaves, I'm trying to think. It will count it as, how does it see VoiceThread?
If it's in a category and a grade item, it should calculate it to whatever you have set it to. It should look very similar, but you're not seeing that happen?
No, I was just wondering if, like on the students that are under that group, there's blank spaces underneath for the rest of the students. And I was wondering if, what Rebecca was talking about, is that, do I have to go in and put zeros under all those?
That's a good question. You know what? I don't know. That's a really good question. My gut feeling is you don't, because they will get a grade in another group, won't they?
Right.
I would say no, but let me look that up, because that's a really good question. I don't know the answer for that, but my gut feeling is no, but let me after we're done, let me check.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Ooh. Yeah, by the way, Julie, is off topic a bit. I've been thinking about VoiceThread. Is it really powerful? I mean, would you recommend it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. It's wonderful.
Okay.
For my uses, I use it. The students make their own, and I have them doing a conversation on bioethics.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I really find great. I do verbal feedback
Yeah.
to them, and I grade within VoiceThread. So,
Oh, I like that.
very nice for instructors as well.
I never thought about giving feedback in VoiceThread.
Yep,
Okay.
you can give locked feedback so that nobody else can see it but them.
Okay.
And it's really nice.
Okay. I went to a presentation at a conference a while ago, and a faculty member from a community college somewhere in Western New York was showing VoiceThread, and I really liked it. And then I kind of forgot about it, so I may finally look into it more now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let me look and see if I covered. We're burning through everything here pretty quickly. Let me see what else I have here. Keep it simple. Course out of 100 categories. The weighting. Fake students. I think that's covered most of the stuff. Extra credit, natural. and students. Yeah, I think that's covered most everything that I wanted to go over, but is there anything anyone would like to see or have any questions about something specific?
John, this
Yes.
is Cheryl. I have a question, and I
Yes.
may have missed this. I came in a couple minutes late,
Yeah.
and then I had something in the middle. You spoke about the new setting, the natural, where they're going to eliminate the previous categories. From what I understood, and perhaps that was incorrect, does that mean that the standard will be simple weighted mean of grades? What happens? How do we override that, or can we, when we have weighted mean of grades, because we do have assignments with different weights?
Yes, it will automatically give you that option. So I just changed my weekly essay category to natural, and you'll see that this has now just given it all the same. But if I want to change it, maybe I'll weigh this double. Not exactly double, but you know what I mean. So by default, everything is simple weighted mean of grades until I manually change it to weighted mean of grades. And it also works for the entire course too, not just within a category. You could do it for the course total as well. And that's why they're changing it. I think they want to have one way of doing it, but give you the options for everything in that one way. It is
So if we have different categories,
yeah.
and let's say there's a category for, we have DQs and we have assignments, and maybe the Voicethread is a separate one. And even within the DQs, there may be different levels.
Yeah.
But for the assignments, if one is 20% and one's 15 and one's 25, do we automatically have to manually put them in?
Yes, the first time if you were creating a new course and you choose manual, you have to put these in. I'm told that when the next upgrade comes and it's only going to be natural for the choice, it should convert your gradebook for you, but I've heard that before, and so I would be skeptical and still check anyway. In terms of the entire course, if we set the whole course to natural, the same thing happens. We have to then set all the weights ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not so different from when we had weighted mean of grades and we had to set the weights ourselves anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. I was worried that there wasn't a possibility of weighted mean, and that didn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense, and the whole point of them going to natural is to still give you those options. But I'll be very honest with you. Many folks call us up and they say, what are these words? What does simple weighted mean and weighted? Like, what does it mean? They're ridiculously confusing.
Right. I think they paid someone to make the gradebook difficult.
Well, it's funny. They told us it's simpler now than it had been. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for this presentation. We really appreciate your taking the time to help us with this.
Oh, happy to do so. And like I said, if you ever want us just to look at your gradebook, maybe you think it's great or you think it stinks or whatever, just drop us a line and we'll just go over it, look at your syllabus, make sure everything agrees. And maybe everything's perfect, but maybe there's a mistake in there, and we'll be happy to. That's been our push this term is the gradebook. We want to make sure everyone is happy with their gradebook. So don't hesitate to ask us to look at it.
So John?
Yes.
I'm just curious, and I came in 5 minutes late, so I don't know, you might have said something about this, but under the weights, how it's, simple weighted or weighted, and right now yours all are equally distributed at 7.143.
Right.
Why on earth could they just not put percent so that we could put 15%, 10% and do it that way and make life easy?
And they're actually going in the opposite direction by doing, because this is actually point. Yeah, they're going in the opposite direction, but I agree with you. And that's why in my real class,
I'm going to have to sit down and calculate out, like, okay, so if I wanted one of those to be worth 10% and worth 7%, what a pain in the neck.
Well, the only thing is, though, is once you set up within a category the weights in the category, you can still, because this number will change. If you make it double, it'll be like 55 or something like that. Mm-hmm. You can still then edit this actual amount here at the end when you're done with it. So you can still make it a percent, but kind of awkwardly. You have to manually do it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to be getting easier, but the natural should be easier, in my opinion, from when you design a course. But if it doesn't transfer properly from current courses, I think we're going to have a lot of trouble. So I'm crossing my fingers.
Yikes.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So John,
Please.
I have a discussion board that's worth 2%. It's like an introductory Voicethread practice for them. Yeah. And I'm like totally stymied to how to put this in. It's as a as a weighted mean.
Right.
So, because, like for instance, what does 1.0 actually equal? I always assumed that meant 100.
Well, no, it just means in relation to each other. For example, weighted mean of grades, it's all going to show 1.0. And this is what? Oh, no, I did it in my real class. Oh, well. It's over. The grades are in. This is very confusing, but what 1.0 simply means is they're all equal to each other. This number could be 37. As long as they're all 37, it's the same thing. So if I want to make something worth twice the other ones, then I just do that, and number one is now worth double. So this is confusing, but that's what it means by that. Some folks think it means a point. Some folks think it means a percentage, but it just is a ratio to each other.
Ratio.
So you can
maybe that's the wrong word.
You don't have to.
So how do I put 0.2 in?
You just edit it off, 0.2, hit enter, and now it's worth 1/5 of the next one. This was worth 1/5 of all the other ones. Now you can go crazy and make these all different. I think you might sort of lose the point after a while. So it gets confusing quickly if you have a lot.
Okay.
But half of the explanations I gave today end with "and it's confusing." I apologize for that, but the gradebook is complicated. It really is.
But John, can't you simply just make the numbers up to 100% if you want?
That's what I try to do all the time.
I could just add in there 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and then 5, 5, 5, or whatever.
That would work perfectly, yes.
So
and I like to keep it out of 100 so I see what it is.
One thing that I did want to add, and this is just from experience of spinning for quite a while.
Yeah.
I had 2 quizzes. Quizzes I added in the course, and what I didn't realize is I was trying to edit it from here, and it wouldn't change. I had to go, it was almost like being terminal, because I created the quiz, but I didn't add all the questions to it.
Yeah.
So the grade on the quiz, where the quiz was 10. And I'm going, no, wait a minute. No, that's not what I want, the highest grade. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't change it in Gradebook. And what I had to do was go terminal, go to the quiz.
Go to the quiz, yes.
Exactly. And I had to enter the questions, and then from there, put the points on all the questions, because by default, each question goes to 1.
Right.
So it was rather frustrating when I did it, but I finally figured it out. And then when I did it at the quiz, it changed Gradebook. So it's not user-friendly in that respect.
It is not, and the quiz, the way we do quizzes in Moodle has fallen behind some of the other LMSs, which are easier. The quiz book in Moodle is still clunky, and it has too many parts. You have to do this, after this, and it's not very friendly. We are told it's being revamped, I hope. Because I have the same problem. I don't care for it. But now that I had them set up, I'm okay with it, but it's far too many steps, and you can make missteps too easily. Anything else, folks? Be happy to answer anything. And like I said, we'd be happy to look at a gradebook for a course or design course or anything. Just submit it, and that's our push this year, is getting the gradebooks looking right for the change to natural. So that's what we hope to do. Cool. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad you joined me. Thank you. And always contact us. We'd be happy to help. And have a great week.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.